Hey YouTube, thank you for checking out my video. So my name is Kenny. Today's video is going to be all about the LTR474. As you've seen in the last video, we've gotten a lot of things done. We've gotten it pretty much back together, got the head on it, got the timing on it, and all those things. But today's video, we're just going to be buttoning up some loose ends, making sure we have hose clamps on, motor mounts tight, make sure everything is good to go. Because once we get this thing rolling, we don't want any problems later on down the future. So we're going to get those things buttoned up. Hopefully, if things go well, I am going to kick it and see if I can get a good fire going on today. And if things go even better, hopefully, I'm looking for a potential start. So stay tuned to the video. Only take about 10-15 minutes of your time. I did have a little snafu with my audio, so I did do voiceover for a good bit of it, but the quality is still there and the content is still the same, so you all enjoy. All right, so we're going to pick things up exactly where we left off at, and we did go ahead and put the motor mounts on right here, as you can see, but we didn't put any bolt in them. So we're going to put the bolts in. So here's one of the stainless bolts that I found. It's going to go in there, and it's going to get tightened down with a 14 millimeter. After we get these snugged up, same thing on the other side. And on the top two here, these ones get tightened down while we're there. And I already had them snugged up earlier. Okay. Underneath all this, here's the coil back, moving around. So there's a 10 millimeter right here, can see, and an Allen on the outside, and we're just going to tighten that all back down. So now that's tight and secure and where it should be. So we're good with everything being up here as it should be. We're actually going to go ahead and put our two clamps on, one clamp here and one clamp there, so we don't forget about those.
So yeah, one clamp here and one clamp there. Didn't really work too well until I showed you all where they were going. So the first clamp is going to be going on to the bottom. It is just one of those standard stainless clamps that I got from maybe Ace Hardware, and it is a 1/4 standard drive head. So I just got it on there just a little bit, and I'm going to slide it down just to get some teeth because I didn't want all of that extra overhanging. And let me make sure I get out of the way so you all can see what we're doing. One down. Now it's time to get the second one on, and it is a little bit longer, but we are going to just route the rest of that up by the blue tubing really close to the radiator, so you'll never even see that's there. So these are the small things that you want to remember as you're moving through the build, because there's nothing like filling this thing up with radiator, filling it up with radiator fluid, getting it hot, riding down the road, and the hose blows off, and then you have a mess.
Boom.
So onto the front, what I usually like to do is lift the front of the machine up in the air because elevation helps bubbles go to the front. So with it lifted up in the air on that 5-gallon bucket, I did just go ahead and use standard pre-diluted 50/50 antifreeze, and I just got it from Walmart. It's just some Super Tech brand, and I squeeze and I pump on the hoses a little bit to just try to get as much of that air out as possible. We're gonna see if we can get it to fire over so we can know that we're on the right path. A little bit of starting fluid and Boom, we got the first fire. Sorry the audio messed up, but I'm very excited as you can see here. So now I can know I'm safe to go ahead and get the fuel system starting to go down so we can make sure all that looks good. Swirl filter delete. So I did go out and buy one of those 3/8 barbs from Lowe's, and I did tie that in and delete the swirl filter. But one of the things that you have to make sure is if you're going to do that, you have to make sure you put a shutoff valve in line, and as well as a good fuel filter so that you're able to keep things from getting into the injector. And if you have heard anything about the LTRs, they are very sensitive when it comes down to the fuel system. Another reason as well is because this is going to be a build that I was originally going to keep. So with deleting the swirl filter, it saved me a little bit of money from having to buy that aluminum swirl filter or bowl at the bottom. It's notorious that the steel one corrodes and a lot of that rust and dirt goes down and messes things up. So this will eliminate all that. However, as safe precautions, you do have a filter in there, and if you're able to filter out your fuel as you put it in there, that's good. And when it comes to just rerouting all the hoses, they only kind of go in there one way. There are two set of short hoses, maybe 6 inches long, that have pressure snap fittings on the ends. And one will go between the actual fuel pump and the pressure regulator. And the other one will go from the pressure regulator to the fuel injector. The pressure regulator pops off at about 40 something PSI, maybe 50. So it makes sure you don't over pressurize the system or anything. So you got to make sure you keep the pressure regulator there. Second is there is another hose that goes on top of the fuel pump assembly that runs up to the top of the fuel tank. And that's just like a tip over thing. So if it tips over, it keeps all the fuel in the system and prevents any kind of leakages. All right, so now we're just going to go ahead, hook up that main fuel line down to the fuel pump, and we're going to do it as I stated. We're going to put the shutoff valve closer to the top and the filter closer to the bottom. That way, whenever you want to change out the filter later, you can turn the shutoff valve off and then be able to change the filter. If you do it vice versa, and the shutoff valve is below the filter, you can imagine how that goes when you want to change it. Alright, so I wanted to keep this beauty running on 93 octane, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. I absolutely love the VP gas tanks, so if you have an opportunity, they're a little bit more expensive than your regular ones from like Walmart, but they're great design and I really like them. So if you ever had an opportunity to get one, grab it. But enough with that. About a half a tank is all we're going to put in there, just in case we have to disconnect things and there's no need to go over the top. So we put about a half a tank in there and we're going to see where this takes us. Now, what kind of crazy person would I be if I went through this whole video and I have not tried to kick it over for you all? So let's hop on this, get this machine started. We're going to make sure the fuel is on. We're going to make sure the key is on. The run switch is on. And then we're going to start. And as you see, the leg must have gotten tired, so we're going to jump off and make sure that everything is still looking good. My dog's not tired in the back though. And we're going to make sure we are getting fuel up to everything and figure out what's going on. It should be firing right about now. And I promised you all a start by the end of this video. You can do it.
All right, got a little bit of mess going on behind me, but as I stated, I am a man of my word. We did get it started today in this video. However, I did do a couple things different. So stay tuned to the next video, and we're going to talk about the changes that I had to make to the LTR to be able to get it to start and what's going to be coming for the future.